I would say 100% of all high conflict cases have a personality disorder on one or both sides.
Yeah.
And narcissist is, the personality disorder du jour, right? Like that's the one that everybody's got today. And so I would say that in most of the cases that I see, there's some sort of mental health thing going on,
Yeah.
substance abuse or mental health going on that is fanning the flames of, the divorce and the marital dysfunction and the reason that they're getting a divorce.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So in 28 years, what's it been? The last 5, 10 years, you think you've seen more narcissism used, or not used, but that terminology being used?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's the topic of the day. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it's changed. I think that the
Right.
personalities that I started off divorcing 29 years ago, like, are still the same personalities that I'm divorcing today. We
Right.
just have terminology
Terminology. More people
that
are
we didn't
aware of
have.
it.
We
Yeah.
didn't have gaslighting. We didn't have edging. We didn't have narcissism, right? We didn't have covert, malignant. We didn't have all of those terms. I mean, they existed in psychology, right? Like they
Yeah.
were things that the professionals used to describe them, but it wasn't layman's terms. Like it hadn't become accessible and readily usable by the populace.
That
Oh,
makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. Let's jump in.
okay, let's
All
dive in.
right. Let's say that you're preparing to divorce someone who's a narcissist. I know there's probably tons of things to do, tons of things to prepare for. You're basically preparing for hell.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you are. But what, in your experience, what do you recommend when you have somebody that comes in and they show you and you're like, yeah, he probably is a narcissist, or she is probably a narcissist? What do you recommend?
Well, ideally to work with a coach or an attorney beforehand, before the cat is ever out of the bag, because there are so many things to do. Like, at my firm and in my own practice, like I'm always like diagnosing people. I don't have a license to do that. And it's not to be used in a court of law or anything like that. It's informational only, right? Like if I see this person and I can identify that they have, you know, several strong narcissistic tendencies, then that's going to alter how I approach that person, right? There's going to be a different way that I engage with that person, right? And certain ways that I absolutely don't engage with that person. So if I can teach my client how to begin that kind of conflict management style, right, from the get-go, right, then we, I think, lower the costs, emotional, financial, familial,
Yeah.
immediately, right? So the first thing I would do is coach them and educate them on how the narcissistic personality, or, I mean, and we're not just, I mean, I think narcissists, like, they're the big shiny things, but like, we have paranoids. We've got
Yeah.
paranoids and they are difficult to deal with. We have people who are histrionic. We have the borderlines. Those are really, I mean, I often, people will be like, that's a narcissist. I'm like, no, that's a borderline. Like
Borderline. Yeah.
that's not, and again, I'm not saying that I'm right psychologically speaking and that the person should be treated for the personality disorder that I think that they have, but it does help me in being able to discern how to like approach this person best and how not to approach them, and then to coach my client to be able to deploy some of those same tactics to keep to keep it from going off the rails. That's the first thing, right?
Yeah, that's important. So, you mentioned a couple things there that really that I made a point of. One is an attorney, and I think you need to make sure that you have an attorney that has experience dealing with high conflict divorces, dealing with narcissism is very well versed in dealing with those cases.
But
Correct?
but you need to do your due diligence as far as that, because like every family law attorney now, divorce, specializing in like, but that doesn't mean that they actually have the
Yeah.
expertise,